How you doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Straight from the Table. We are here at the Crescent Theatre in Birmingham, and we've just wrapped up our BNBF Midlands Championships. I'm David Kay. I'm joined by Head Judge Vicky McCann, Robert Waterhouse and David Hanna, who made up the panel. So, like I say, our BNBF Midlands Championships just wrapped up, and we've crowned our overall winner, Duncan McDougall. Congratulations to you, you're our new overall champ. You took the middleweight crown and also best wheels. Clean sweep for you, great day. Tight overall, wasn't easy, took the judges a couple of rounds to get through it. Vic, why don't you just run through quickly how it went down?
Yeah, it was a tough overall. I think that there was a lot of people that could have been in the mix had they been in better condition. John Maduri is so well put together, well muscled, presents himself well, just not quite hard enough. Stephen Donoghue, the heavyweight, exact same. He had a lot going on, just not quite hard enough. James Melville wasn't hard enough from the back. The Master, not hard enough. So arguably any one of these could have been competitive, but Duncan was the one that brought it today. He brought the balance of condition, fullness, size, and posed really, really well. His posing was absolutely spot on. So it could be a different situation and different circumstances, but I think that basically Duncan was the one that brought it on the day.
Quickly, Davey, on that?
Yeah, I think I like the lightweight going round in the quarter turns, but the more they started to pose, you could see that the middleweight just ticked all about most boxes, and nobody was going to take it away from him. And a good display from him, and well deserved.
Yeah, a very kind of polished winner on the day, and that's what we like to see in our overall champ. So we'll go on then to our starting class today, and that was our Masters. This class was sponsored by Nutrition First. They were our overall sponsor, so thank you very much, Nutrition First. This class was taken by Clifton Moraes from Neil Stanley and Milan Korsok in 3. First time on the BNBF stage, I think, for Clifton, and he made his mark. Vic?
Yeah, beautifully put together, well balanced, presented well, full, just not quite in hard enough condition to move to the next step. I mean, that was an easy win for him. Hopefully we won't get complacent and think that's how easy it's going to be come October 7th, because there's going to be a lot more like him. I mean, we've had some incredible Masters. So I think that, Clifton, you've got it all going on, it's all there, but realistically, don't sit back on your laurels and make sure you nail that condition.
Yeah, he's going to have to diet right through.
Absolutely.
And mainly just really in the legs as far as, I think his body was definitely harder. As I said, one of the other guys obviously this year compete with an 8-pack, so pretty jealous on that point. But yeah, I mean, as I said, he's just really nice round, big arms and front doubles, absolute killer. So yeah, but really, really impressed with him.
Yeah, some of the thickest serratus anterior muscles I've ever seen. They were like, not just fingers, like thumbs sticking out there from under his rib cage. Really eye-catching. We had Neil Stanley in 2 from Milan Korsok in 3. And just quickly on those guys, not quite in the condition or carrying the muscle mass to compete with the class of Clifton. So just certainly, we say it a lot, but it's just a bit more size and a bit more condition is what is kind of needed.
Well, actually.
I was just going to say that.
Very, very similar physique when they stood next to each other. Sorry, who's second?
I think
again.
Neil just edged it on condition.
Yeah,
over
and it
Milan,
was,
but
and
they were
slightly
very
darker
similar.
on the tan, and criticism from Milan was just he did his routine right at the back of the stage again. I never keep saying it, but I think that tipped it for me in the even show. Because obviously Neil just displayed his physique just that little bit better, and it will probably level going into that even show. So minor thing to fix, but yeah, very good.
Okay, thank you very much. So, from the over 40s, we moved to our over 50s, and this class was, we always say it, the older guys are showing the younger guys how to do it, and we had a lot of entertainers in this class, and they did not disappoint. This was won by John Maduri, and he took the class from Michael Boyle, with Denton Wilson in 3 and Carlos Cockburn in 4. Davey, what a class and what a show.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the top 4 guys especially. Denton's the best I've seen him for a while, and he enjoys himself as always. Carlos as well, that's the best I've ever seen him, and his routine's always great. Top 2 guys, I had it really close between the two. I think John's got the nicer shape, nicer lines. But sorry, who was the guy in second? Michael's condition. He was dry and granite hard. So that I think the judges had it a little bit split. That must have been close between the top 2.
A point in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vic, just any quick notes on the guys?
Yeah, I mean, a very, very strong over 50s. Carlos, as you say, best he's been for a while. And Denton, but Carlos has always been there, always presented brilliant routines, but just not quite been at the races. But today I thought he actually brought more than we've seen so far, and if he keeps going the way he's going, we could see a really good Carlos come final time. So keep the work up, Carlos, you're looking good.
Okay, thank you very much. From our over 50s, we moved on to our Masters figure. Initially with 2, but they ended up with 3. And this class was taken by Joe Griffiths from Claudia Brown in 2 and Benita Lindy in 3. Clear win for Joe. I think all the judges were really impressed with Joe as a Masters figure, one of the best I've seen. Davey?
Yeah, especially upper half. Great cap on her shoulders on that, good midsection. Presented herself really well. Could be a little bit tighter in the legs if you've been picky, but she was a standout in the class and won easily.
Yeah. My only criticism of Joe was please smile. I mean, I don't think you smiled through the whole day. I don't know if she actually smiled when she won, but
I think she was very much concentrating on getting the job done, that she forgot to actually
project herself and just be
the enjoyment.
But other than that, and I mean, Claudia was the same. She didn't smile much either. So where Benita, who was third, smiled from start to finish. I think you said it was kind of tight between Benita and Claudia.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Benita probably posed better, and so as you said, like fabulous tan, and Claudia was just definitely harder, and that's probably what tipped it for me in the end. But I mean, if I actually had gone the other way, maybe not. I mean, too disappointed, but as far as I just think that you had to reward that slightly crisper, fresher look. But as you said, I think Benita maybe just needs a little bit more time, and she will get harder, and I think she'll do right.
I mean, bodybuilding's a journey, and she's improved so much since last year, and I know that she's doing the Northern in 3 weeks again, so it'll be interesting to see if she can pull it in again for them. So well done, Benita, keep going. But well done, a brilliant class actually, brilliant Masters figure class. So well done, ladies.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, we moved from the ladies back to the guys, and we had our novice class. And in typical novice fashion, it was all shapes and sizes, strengths and weaknesses, pros and cons. Real kind of tear up on stage, and a tough one for the judges. We had Kyle Davies winning the class. Much improved Kyle Davies. He took it from Finn McNamara in 2, from Stuart Saunders in 3, and Max Norman, who rounded off the 4. Davey?
Yeah, I think Kyle just had the best balance of everything. His condition was good. He had a fairly good balance and shape to his physique, and he presented it well. Finn in second could have been a little bit darker, would have highlighted his physique a little bit better. Had some good body parts, especially in his side shots. His legs were really good, thick chest. But really after that, there was bits and pieces from quite a few competitors, and things could change in the finals, between them.
Yeah. And 3, just quickly with Stuart Saunders. Stuart was a big guy, probably one of the bigger guys in the class. A lot of muscle, but posed poorly in some occasions. I think he was a big guy with a big chest, but from his side chest he kind of crunched, didn't really show the width and things like that. So these are novice traits. So it's kind of things that you just need to do, and they're like teething problems, and you get it done and improve moving on.
And just softer in the legs compared to the upper body, and that's probably what I'd say the biggest guy in the class. And they said if he'd been as hard as the other guys were in the class, he may have even won the class. It's just a case, I think the other two were just put together better. First story, Kyle actually overlooked him at the start. And he did really, really well to work his way in. Then you sort of end up thinking, have him about third, and then all of a sudden he's come out, and he just got better and better as he went through the quarter turns and the muscularity. So he did well to
It was a brilliant class. I mean, I think second place Finn, he was very reminiscent of Duncan McDougall to me, that won the overall. 2 years down the line, arguably. But he had that same, tiny joints, full pecs, great round sweeping quads. That's all there for him if he just keeps persevering with it. Another 2 people I'd comment on is Warren Mann. Warren could arguably come in harder, pose better, and actually take a place. So, again, whether he'd want to go to the Northern and try and have another go at that, because there wasn't anything really wrong other than a little bit conditioning, a little bit. He posed and crunched all the time. When he's a short, stocky guy, he needs to lift up and open up. He doesn't need to crunch. And Tony, who was in the running as well, he came on slow, started really slow, nice shape, but just wasn't quite hard enough. And he did your favourite thing, Dave, with the low trunks, long waist and low trunks, which I know.
Stop doing it, guys.
Yeah. One or two people with that again today. Guys, get those trunks up on your hips. Don't wear them across your hip. Get them up high. Don't wear them across your hips, especially if you've got a long torso. It really doesn't do you any favours. But another good novice class, which was novice. You see that it was a lot. They've all got a long way to go and a lot of learning to do, but excellent.
Yeah, good round up there, guys, and tough class and kind of well battled. We moved then back to ladies. This was our Miss Athletic class, and once again an absolute belter of a class, I will say. Really good physiques. This was won by Lucy Buglas, apologies about the pronunciation. She took the class from Charlie Wright with Teresa Slezova in 3. Now, a bit of kind of like apples and oranges, we say it a lot, but for the winner, Lucy, the most muscular in the class by quite a margin, who took the win from a very, classy natural figure look from Charlie in 2. Davey, talk us through it.
Yeah, we were saying earlier like that you could almost have put, Lucy in the physique class and Charlie in the figure class, because the physiques they've got. The winner had a lot of muscle, and Charlie in second, and Teresa. Both great balanced physiques as well, and their posing routines were highlights of the show. Really good to watch and a really strong class.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there, Dave, is that arguably Lucy could arguably step up to Miss Physique, and I wouldn't have any issues with her taking her qualification place and applying as a physique competitor, because I think she could. I think she could go in there. She's got the size to do it, and I think she would do quite well in that. And again with Charlie, they both did well, but Charlie is such a natural figure.
Yeah, beautiful figure.
I think again, if she wanted to take that qualification place and go figure at the finals, I would have no objection. Although I would hate to lose that routine. That's taking that routine to a T-walk. We wonder if she can do as well. But Teresa, who to me was probably the person that suited the class best, and actually had she been a lot harder, I'd have been tempted to go that way. She had really good strong legs and she had a real athletic look and a brilliant athletic routine, but arguably these girls could go to the finals and do something completely different. I know that Alison Booker is going to the Northern to try and bring condition in, so she's got a ton of muscle, she just needs to bring the condition in. And Ruth, really tidy, really nicely put together, but again, just didn't quite have the condition or the size to compete with the other girls.
Needs more muscle, and same again, she come out and really impressed me with the routine.
Brilliant,
as well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. But a lovely class, a really good class. Some really nice classes today.
Yeah, and just once again, I say it time and time again, I don't know why, don't know what it is, but the athletics ladies are setting the bar for the routines. They're jaw-dropping and a real pleasure to watch. And we'll look forward to more of that at the finals. So we moved on then back to the guys. Young guys, we had our teens and our juniors. We only had one teen, but we had a big teen in William Tishiko. We'll call him Big Will because he was a big boy, and he was our only teen, but he did not disappoint. I think we all kind of discussed how we've seen, guys like that with so much potential, and we want to see it kind of mature over the years. Quickly, a word on Will then.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was actually looking for faults to try and give him something to work on, but realistically, all he needs to work on is just keep going and condition. Just mature, just come a little bit harder and just grow up. But someone that's got potential to go all the roads. But bear in mind that having potential doesn't mean you'll do it. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication as well. But Will, you've got what it takes, physically, but we'll see if you've got what it takes mentally. So let's see what you bring to the finals.
Yeah. So Will was our only teen, but we did bring him on with the juniors so he could pose with the juniors, and he certainly did not look out of place at all. The juniors was won by James Hilton, who took it from Dwayne Latinwo in 2, and we had Aidan Scanlon in 3. We use the term apples and oranges a lot, and I felt that was very much the case between 1 and 2. We had Aidan, who kind of brought the harder conditioned look, from Dwayne, who had the classy aesthetic physique, but a lot softer, particularly in the lower half. So you were going to go one way or the other. Rob, why don't you give us your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think if you're drawn to Dwayne's shape for sure. Especially over someone like James, who just isn't well as put together, can often look a little bit awkward. He needs a little bit more sweep on the quads, but for what he lacked in symmetry, he made up for obviously in a good amount of muscle on his frame. Still needs to work on posing a little bit, but actually a really good showing for him. And obviously by far the hardest in the class. I think that's obviously what's tipped it for him for the win.
Yeah. Okay. Becky, just a word on the other guys then.
Yeah, Aidan had good condition, just needs a little bit more fullness, and some of his posing he could probably open up a little bit more. Kane, I would actually have liked to have seen having a go in 3 weeks at the Northern. I thought he was actually quite a nicely put together kid. He had a lot of muscle, a nice shape. He just wasn't in condition, and I'd hate to see him end his journey with that performance. I'd like to see him try and nail it for 3 weeks and just see what he can produce. And he may qualify, he may not, but just to finish the journey and come in harder, I think would be good for Kane. So if you're out there, Kane, hopefully we'll see you in 3 weeks. But potential again, but a nice class, because we're seeing potential coming through the novice classes. We're seeing it coming through in our juniors, which is great for the sport. I mean, and that's really important.
Yeah, we moved then back to ladies, and we had our Miss Figure. Biggest class of the day, biggest headache of the day for the judges. When the ladies walked on stage, you were obviously starting to make your assumptions, you were starting to judge it, and then the more they posed and the more they were moved around, I kept scoring out my numbers and starting again. And these classes happen. We had, in the end, Zoe Salt winning the class from Katie Smithers in 2, Christine Clark in 3, and Jocelyn Mayer in 4. And all 4 were invited to the Britain. It was tight and it was tough. Vic, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, it was a tight class. I think 9 and 10, Katie and Zoe stood out from the off. I think we all sort of saw the potential in them. Very close between them. Katie's not got a natural tiny waist, but she's over the years developed a bit more size, which has given her a better shape. But she was still a little bit soft in the lower half. And although Zoe was still soft, she wasn't any harder than Katie. She had that natural tiny wee waist that, just pulled together. She also had amazing skin tone, and she just had a real natural look to her. But very, very close. I mean, there was nothing in it. I mean, absolutely nothing in it between those two. Christine was the best I've seen Christine. Christine has a tendency to be real bottom heavy, and I think that's the most balanced I've seen her top to toe. Also the happiest I've seen her on stage, to be fair. She seemed to really enjoy, being in condition, being in shape. She knew she'd done it right, so I think that made a big difference. And Jocelyn in 4th, she's tidy, she's put together well. She did athletic 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
And decided she wanted to do figure, but I felt she'd actually lost a little bit of size in the 2 weeks. And maybe just she was standing against different girls, and that can give you a different illusion. But she's nicely put together, a little bit more size. She's got neat hips, good glutes, no real major faults, just not quite there yet.
And darker as well. She's obviously been competing the last couple of weeks or so. She can definitely go down, down a few. I mean, you look how good Katie's tan was, in second, and that will just really will change, the way she looks on stage.
Yeah, although her tan was a little better this time than it was 2 weeks ago, so she's improved on that as well. So yeah, but no, well done, a really tough class, and it was good to see these 3 girls do well.
Just like to add as well, out of that top 4. There was actually quite a few people with just a little bit more condition who, I mean, Adele Burns sticks out for me. She came to some feedback afterwards and told the same thing. I know we've said it a little bit today, but 3 weeks' time could make all the difference. She probably had one of the natural better shapes on there, just bottom half, just definitely not in the condition that she needed to be to be in the top 3 today.
I would agree with that, and I said the same thing.
So if they can just bring that forward, by all means, you'll probably get the result you want with a bit more hardness in 3 weeks' time.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Do that.
Yeah, great advice there, Rob. There's still one more qualifier to go. Okay, for the Miss Figure, our men's open. We started with a lightweight class. And in my opinion, this was possibly my highlight class of the day. It was very tight, very tough, and very high quality. We had a winner in James Melville, who took it from Chris Edge in 2nd, and we had Damien Blackwood in 3. And it was one of those classes, Davey, I felt it's a shame that someone out of those top 3 had to be 3.
Yeah,
because
it's almost the same, like you feel you're a loser because you're 3, but it's such a good class.
It almost seemed unfair that someone has to be as low as 3, if you'll call it that, and have such a good physique. But that was the case, and that's sometimes the way it goes. Why don't you talk us through it then?
Yeah, I mean, the guy in 3rd place, very full muscles in that, Damien. Just didn't quite have the shape. I mean, he had a nice balance to his physique, but small. Legs were, just didn't have the size in the legs of the top 2 guys. And as they went round in their quarter turns, I had him 3rd, Chris in 2nd, and was it James in 1st? Yeah. I mean, they were just too hard. Their shape was overall better and more size, and it was very close between the top 2 guys. I thought that's the best I've ever seen Chris. He's improving all the time. and he was just unlucky to come up against James today, who, you know, had just that edge over him. I think there wasn't a lot in it. I didn't think the edge over.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I mean it was a tough class to judge in a lot of ways. I mean, I had it moving around. I mean, Damien, who, you know, I thought would do well in the symmetry, to me held himself very narrow and didn't pose brilliantly. So I actually had him third in symmetry, but I had him first in muscularity, because to me he had the cleanest lines and detail. So even though he lacked a little bit of size in his legs, I thought he that pure conditioning, clean sharpness, you know, had it. And with Chris Edge, I had very, very balanced in both rounds. You know, his shape was good, his balance top to toe was good, and then in the muscularity, I actually had him edging over James Melville, not on size, but in the fact when they turned to the back, James was a little bit soft in the glutes and hams, a little bit thicker in the waist, you know, a little bit wider in the hips, whereas for me, Chris tapered in.
Double biceps from
I mean, to me, so I mean, I actually, as you said, I think those three, if it had gone any way, I don't think any one of us would have really. You didn't judge that class, did you?
I didn't judge that class, and I'm very, very glad that I won't be judging it the Britain either.
It's always a horrible class to judge.
What is going to come up is going to be obviously a really big mix of
absolutely
really good condition and, you know, good size for lightweights now, not just small guys anymore. You know, so.
I mean, it really was. I mean, three phenomenal physiques, and I mean, I said to them, it was, you know, it's a joy to have a top three at a qualifier like that. You know, if that had turned up as your top three in a Britain final, you'd have been like, that's a great top three. So to have that in a qualifier, as you say, it's worrying what we're going to have at the Britain.
Yeah, the lightweights is always stacked. And just a quick note, kind of like from a judge's perspective, when it's tight like that and it comes to the night show and we look at routines, I felt James, despite winning the class, James, you were watching this, your strength was standing front on, where I thought you were quite dominant, and in your routine you started from the back and then went into kneeling poses. So I was waiting on you coming stand to the front and showing us those poses. Don't give the judges an opportunity to see you in any angles that are not your strongest. Because I felt
that on my sheet,
Chris in second delivered a great routine for his physique and posed a lot to the back, which was his strength. So I know, not just for these guys, but for everyone. Moving on to our middleweight, we had Duncan McDougall, who did of course take our overall. He won that class, from Alex Mackay and Elliot Randall in 3. Tight decision. It was tough. You had to go one way or the other. We had Duncan edging it from Alex, but you know, Davey, kind of similar physiques as well, which made it even harder. So how'd you do it?
I know, it was almost like, you know, we were kidding. You could have swapped their heads about, and it would have been a big difference.
No one would have known.
Very similar physiques. It was really picky, picking out the, you know, first from second. I think Duncan just, from the side, his legs were a little bit sharper. From the, you know, from the front they were good as well. Just slightly cleaner lines, but there just wasn't a lot in it. And Alec won for me some of the poses as well, so it wasn't like it was a clear cut first and second. It was, and even going forward to the finals, that could easily change. You know, it was so tight.
Yeah, it was a really tough one. I mean, I had it even going into the night show because I couldn't really split it. I gave one symmetry, one muscularity, almost just to give myself the benefit of the doubt. And then I gave Duncan it on his routine, edging it. And then when they came back out and stood together again, I felt like saying, no, wait a minute, can I just see them go round again? It was that tight. And I think you could have kept them going round, you know, another 3 or 4 times just to make sure.
Again, similar to in the lightweights, we didn't feel anyone deserved third. It was almost as if here, neither of those guys deserved to actually lose. But you have to go one way or the other. And in the end, I think we all just had Duncan nipping it just on the class.
I think Duncan's strengths were Alex's weaknesses, and I think that's always a bit of a nightmare. Thickness through the chest and a lot of detail in the quads as well. And I think when one athlete's got a couple of weaknesses and the other athlete excels in those parts, even though it just kind of throws it in balance. But very, very hard. I mean, really, really tough to call.
Good middleweights.
Quick note on Elliot in 3. Just, you know, not quite. In fact, both Elliot Randall and Dan Steele, who rounded off the 3 and 4, just not quite in the condition of the other guys. Okay, we moved then to our heavies. We did have our winner in Stephen Donoghue from AJ Dill in 2 and Marcos Gava in 3. Quite a clear winner, I thought, in Stephen on the day, who just overpowered the other guys, to be honest, just with kind of muscular thickness
but also great shape.
And shape. And I felt as the day went on, condition, I felt at night Stephen was vastly improved as well, and kind of closed the door.
Yeah, I thought he was a clear winner. AJ's got a fantastic shape, but was just too soft to compete. Against Stephen. I think Stephen still has to get. I spoke to him after. He will get better going towards the finals as well. But he's got such a great shape about him, balance, big body parts. His shoulders, his legs from the side.
Great side poses.
Yeah, his side poses are fantastic. Thick chest. A really, really great physique.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with the top 3 in this class as well is I think all 3 should be middleweights.
Yeah.
Looking at harder, none of them were quite hard enough. They were all within scope. And what was interesting as well was that Stephen was the lightest in the class. Mm-hmm. Yet when you were saying the last show that weight doesn't really come into it, but arguably AJ, Stephen, and Marco could all do with coming down enough that they'd all be middleweights and be strong, very strong in the middleweight class. They're not natural heavies.
I also do think that AJ did get a lot better tonight as well. Yeah, it was quite a big difference. He looked like he was carrying a bit of water and prejudging, and it really hurt him. It really did hurt him to start off with. And I think it might have just been the fact that just going through them rounds. If he had maybe a few more rounds of quarter turns, he would have just got harder and harder. And so especially, I think that's what happened for tonight's show. Whether he did anything different in the food interval, but he did just get tighter. His midsection was harder, but he said he just still needs to bring.
Just had a bit more pop as well at night. I felt AJ had more pop.
He needs to be a middleweight though. He needs to get that weight off and come down. I mean, lovely physique, but just
lovely shape. AJ, from the back, his rear double biceps is nice to look at, but. Like you say, the condition wasn't there. He needs to be crisp. To do because he's also quite young. Because he wasn't carrying a huge amount of density, you need that crispness to kind of offset that. And you can't rush maturity, unfortunately, but you've got to work. You've got to do the best you can with what you've got at the time. Okay. Our last physique then, before we had our overall, was our missed physique. Now it was initially 2, 1 move to the Masters figure, so we only had 1. But we had Lauren Jackson, representing for the ladies in physique, muscular physique, kind of rugged look. Vic, I always go to you because it is your class. How can Lauren improve for the finals then?
Lauren needs to get rock hard. She's not, again, like a lot of people, she's not got a natural taper. She's got quite a thick waist, ton of muscle across her shoulders and chest. I think she did judo, so she's got a lot of muscle and a lot of strength, but she's slightly blocky. And if you're blocky, you have to come in absolutely shredded. She wasn't close to being in condition today. I don't mean that badly, Lauren. I know you'll nail it for the finals, but you're really going to have to do that. You're going to have to bite the bullet and get the job done and come in rock hard. You've got the muscle there to do it, but just don't sit back. Don't sit back on your laurels. Get the job done.
Yeah. Agreed. No, agreed.
Yeah, okay, fair assessment, Vic, thanks for that. Okay, and like you say, we did move on to our overall, which, as I said, was won by our middleweight champion, Duncan McDougall. If not clearly, certainly, I think it was clear, I think it maybe was clear across the board, or there was a 1 vote going elsewhere?
I think there was a couple. I think you got
right, okay.
a 5-2.
A 5-2, so it was, it wasn't clear cut, but probably the right winner on the day. Okay, and that was it then. Our Birmingham show, our Birmingham qualifier, should I say, was done. Once again, thank you very much to our sponsors, guys. We really appreciate it. We cannot continue without your help. Nutrition First and everyone else, much appreciated, and we hope to maintain your support. Thanks also to everyone for coming out to support the sport of natural bodybuilding. So, we are done, packed up and ready for the long drive home. Our next show, we are in Manchester in 3 weeks for the BNBF Northern, and that's our final qualifier. Where has the year gone? And then we'll look forward to our Britain in Liverpool on October 7th. Is that right? 8 weeks. 8 weeks, guys. Okay, so for myself... Yeah. Well, I don't need to die. So 8 weeks is nothing to me. So from me, David Kay, Head Judge Vicky McCann, Robert Waterhouse and Davey Hanna, this was Straight from the Table, and we are done, and we hope to see you next time. Take care, guys. Cheers. Bye.